An 8.2% mortgage rate is not just a number flashing on a screen. It's a financial prison wall, and it just slammed down hard on the entire American economy. We are watching a sudden, catastrophic deep freeze literally take over the housing market in real time. The headlines, they just keep obsessing over the dry data, but they are completely missing the human reality of what a rate this high actually does to your everyday life.
Because this deep freeze we're living through right now, it has absolutely nothing to do with the weather or traditional real estate cycles. It's all about a secret mobility trap. Millions of families are waking up and realizing they are literally locked in place. You aren't just stuck in a house anymore. You're potentially trapped in a city you desperately want to leave or a job you really need to quit. Making a move has suddenly mutated into a multi-thousand-dollar monthly penalty.
And for anyone out there trying to buy their first home, let this reality sink in. 65%. Right now, 65% of American households are officially priced out of buying a new median-priced home forever. The traditional path to building wealth in this country is broken. The math has completely stopped working for the average family. It terminated the momentum of the spring buying season and just slammed the door completely shut on first-time buyers.
Let's just slow down and let the sheer outrage of this data breathe for a second. We constantly hear officials telling us the economy is resilient, but the gap between what you earn and what a roof over your head actually costs has violently detached. Look at this. Since 2017, the cost of a home skyrocketed by 81%. Average earnings? Up just 43%. Your paycheck is losing a very real war against the cost of living. That massive divergence is exactly why the idea of a starter home feels like an impossible luxury right now.
This total paralysis didn't just happen overnight. You can trace it directly back to late February 2026, when the 8-week conflict involving Iran escalated. That geopolitical shock instantly bled into our domestic economy, and it led straight to a massive crisis of consensus at the Federal Reserve this past April. For the first time since 1992, we saw 4 individual dissents at the Fed. They could not agree on how to handle the sudden pressure. That internal panic spilled into the bond market, and by May, we woke up to this brutal 8.2% reality.
The core trigger behind all that panic was oil. The conflict spiked Brent crude to almost $100 a barrel, $99.97 to be exact. This wasn't just a bad afternoon at the gas pump. It sparked a massive inflationary panic. Investors took one look at that crude price and realized the skyrocketing cost of global energy was about to drive up the cost of absolutely everything else.
Now, this is exactly where the traditional rules of finance completely shatter. The old playbook says when a global crisis hits, investors panic and park their money in U.S. Treasuries. That flight to safety traditionally drives yields down, and mortgage rates drop right along with them. But the 2026 reality inverted that entirely. Because this specific energy shock threatened massive inflation, it completely broke the bond market's safety mechanism. The global panic actually drove Treasuries yields up. We are living through this incredibly bizarre moment where a flight to safety made things significantly worse for the average American trying to get a loan.
Which brings us to a massive, mostly overlooked angle in all of this: job hugging. It is genuinely shocking to see that even with so-called stable unemployment, the actual hiring rate in the US has cratered down to recessionary levels. Why? People are terrified. If you managed to secure a 3% mortgage a few years ago, you are double incentivized to stay exactly where you are. People are hugging jobs they might actually hate, refusing to climb the career ladder simply because taking a better opportunity in a new city means taking on an 8% mortgage. This housing crisis is literally paralyzing the American workforce.
Someone summed it up with a quote that perfectly captures the psychological warfare of this market. The American dream used to be about what you could build. In 2026, it's about what interest rate you managed to kidnap 5 years ago. It is a fundamental shift in how our society operates. Your financial stability isn't determined by your hard work or your talent anymore. It's dictated by a lucky financial contract you signed before the world changed. You didn't just buy a house, you bought a time machine, and now you can't leave it.
This environment is carving a brutal K-shaped divide right through our society. Think about how people reacted when that energy shock hit. Wealthy households, those earning over $125,000, mostly just absorbed the blow. Their spending at the pump went up 19%, but they kept driving. On the flip side, lower-income families making under $40,000 were forced to cut their real consumption by 7%. They're carpooling, taking the bus, cutting back on absolute essentials. This cost-of-living crisis is eroding the purchasing power of the exact demographic that needs a starter home the most. And for anyone still preaching that old advice that buying is always better than renting, the new math just deleted that playbook. Take a look at the California ownership premium.
Right now, to buy a two-bedroom home in California, your monthly payment sits around $4,440. To rent that exact same property, it's $2,700. It costs 66% more per month just for the privilege of putting your name on the deed and having to fish your own plumbing. When the immediate monthly financial strain is that extreme, the traditional wealth-building strategy of real estate just goes completely out the window. So who actually wins in this frozen, locked-up environment? Mega builders. Corporations like Lennar and Toll Brothers. While the regular resale market is totally paralyzed by the lock-in effect, these massive companies are using their deep cash reserves to artificially buy down interest rates for new buyers. They pay a lump sum to lenders up front, so the buyer gets a rate way below that 8.2% peak. It's a brilliant and somewhat ruthless loophole. It keeps their inventory moving, while the average homeowner trying to sell their house has absolutely zero way to compete.
But even those mega builders can't hide from the regional realities. We're seeing a massive geographic divergence right now. The Sunbelt boomtowns, the exact places everyone rushed to during the pandemic, are starting to crash. Cape Coral saw median sale prices drop 9% recently because builders vastly overspeculated, and now they're sitting on a massive inventory overhang. Contrast that with the incredible resilience of the industrial heartland. Detroit is up 17%. The tight, constrained markets of the Northeast to Midwest are holding remarkably strong, while the speculative boomtowns are racing to the bottom.
So what finally breaks this stalemate? We are approaching what economists are calling the life penalty breakpoint. I'll make a bold prediction right now. By late 2026, this lock-in effect is going to shatter. Not because rates miraculously plummet, but out of pure human necessity. Eventually, the sheer misery of living in a home that doesn't fit because you just had twins, because you need to retire, or maybe a divorce, that reality will outweigh the financial penalty of a high mortgage rate. We're going to see a desperate wave of forced listings hit the market simply because life cannot be paused forever.
Which leaves us staring at a massive structural debate about the future of this country. With 8.2% rates literally walling off the middle class, is homeownership in America transitioning from a reward for hard work into a hereditary privilege, something only available to those with existing family wealth? We are watching the very foundation of the American economy fundamentally rewrite itself in real time. I'm watching the data closely, but I want to know what you are actually seeing on the ground in your own neighborhoods. At what point does the life penalty finally force this housing market to break open where you live?
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, so why not invest in this channel? Click like and subscribe for more.